Hi all, welcome back to our channel, where we provide a summary and more related content of the linguistic research seminars hosted by Universidad de Salamanca and Universidad de Valladolid. As part of this series, besides a short summary of the content, and because their sessions always leave us wanting to know more, we also offer a Q&A section with our presenters. For this purpose, we asked Eva Codó some further questions to explore the field of critical ethnographic social linguistics, as well as her work within it, in more detail. If you haven't seen our previous video summarizing her live seminar, which took place online on the 13th of December 2024, we invite you to take a look before continuing with this video. Dr. Eva Codó is Associate Professor of English Sociolinguistics at Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona in Spain. Her research is in the areas of language policy, the sociolinguistics of multilingualism, institutional sociolinguistic ethnography, and language and mobility. Her most recent work focuses on the study of family language policy and processes of distinction linked to English language learning in Spain. She has published widely in the most relevant journals of her field. Her last book is Global CLIL, Critical Ethnographic and Language Policy Perspectives. Currently, she is co-editor-in-chief of the journal Multilingua, Journal of Cross-Cultural and Interlanguage Communication. And now, let's talk with Eva Codó. We would like to thank her for her collaboration and involvement both during the seminar and the post-seminar activity. Unfortunately, we do not have her answers live, but we will provide you with a direct quotation of all of her answers here. Our first question was, how would you define in a few sentences critical ethnographic social linguistics, also known as CS? Eva answers. CS is an epistemology for conducting qualitative research on language policy and use in social spaces. CS is concerned with how inequality is constructed in and through language and communication. CS employs ethnography as methodology to capture the complexity of language in social life through the gathering and analytical triangulation of multiple data types. CS tries to understand the interplay between situated action and sense-making and broader institutional, socio-political, economic, and discursive processes. For our second question, we wanted to know, how did she end up working in this field of knowledge? She says, I was initially trained in the interactional analysis of code switching, which is what the research group I inserted myself into was working on at the time. I grew increasingly dissatisfied with the explanatory potential of interactional analysis and certainly with a code-switching lens to language use in multilingual contexts. I gradually transitioned toward ethnographic sociolinguistics while completing my PhD, and especially during my postdoc years. Round about that time, the Canadian linguistic anthropologist Monica Heller joined our research group, and her ideas became very influential for my epistemological shift, which got consolidated during my research stay in Toronto back in 2010. With our third question, we were looking for some advice to those of you who wish to start their academic journeys in the field of critical ethnographic sociolinguistics. Eva told us, I would advise them to read a few sociolinguistic ethnographies first to understand what it means to embrace this epistemology at different levels, intellectually, emotionally, and materially. Then, once in the field, I will tell them to be patient. Ethnography is chaotic at first, and deeply disturbing in many ways. Researchers must be patient with themselves and others, and accept that the pieces of the jigsaw will maybe only come together at the end of their PhDs. Our fourth question was about the research venues she believes have great future potential. That's a very difficult question. Potential is always a contextually defined word. But to answer your question, I think one of the areas we need to engage with now is how people use AI. The public discourses around AI center on binary discussions of dangers or benefits. But how do we engage with AI? How is AI changing many professions, including the language intensive, such as teaching? How is it changing the way we think about language, communication, writing, language expertise, etc.? On our next question, we ask, which challenges do you think CS will have to face in the future? Eva argued that reflexivity is central to CES. For that reason, CES is a constant process of redefining and rethinking itself, its methods and processes of knowledge creation. I think one of its ongoing challenges has to do with its applicability, that is, with its public engagement agenda. There have been attempts to actively bring CES to the public sphere, in particular within the context of minority language revitalization movements, but they are often labeled as quote-unquote too activist. So one of the challenges for me is making CES relevant to policy making, for example, in a way that it does not imply it has to exclusively come from activist positions. For our last question, we wanted to know how can society profit from CES research? In many different ways. First, by problematizing many of the discourses that circulate socially about languages, often based on prejudice, binary simplifications, or ingrained beliefs or myths about it. We will call them languages ideologies. Secondly, by showing how certain ways of using language and thinking about it have material consequences for people's lives. And thirdly, by making policymakers sensitive to the many communication-related issues shaping inequality in accessing public services, education, work, etc. And that will be all for today. We hope you have enjoyed this video. We would like to close by thanking Eva Codó once more for her answers. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to be up to date with the latest linguistic content from these linguistic research seminars.